knuckles taped black. Pick my gloves up off the mat. Fighting's all I ever had. Wasn't born with tons of gifts. Had to work hard as a kid. Know that everything I did was to catch the other kids. Slowly built my self-esteem. Turned myself to a machine. I'd compete so I could see. I would lose and I'd succeed, but you never see me quit. I'd always get after it. Knew I had a different gift. I'd outwork another kid. Deep within our souls, we can feel there's something empty. We need something more. I feel destiny, she tempts me. Tells me there's two paths, they both have a different ending. Choose wise and you'll find that path leads to ascending. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I can fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I can fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. I'll be last place, that's alright, I don't work at a fast pace. I'm a steady horse creeping up straight past it. And once I pass you, no one's getting past me. I've seen people hit walls when they stop there. I don't get that mind, man, it sounds scared. Good things take time, better prepare. Cause anything great takes pain, it's unfair. Take it from me, cause I got to this place where no one can tell me to do anything. I call my own shots, I call my own place. I enjoy my life almost every day. And I could teach you if you listen to me. You follow some rules, don't need gifts to be paid. Persistence is better than brains any day. Just listen to me and I'll show you the way. In our souls, we can feel there's something empty. We need something more. I feel destiny, she tempts me. Tells me there's two paths, they both have a different ending. Choose wise and you'll find that pain leads to ascending. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I can fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I can fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary.
We live in a culture that celebrates the podium, but rarely asks what it costs to stand there. We applaud discipline, but we seldomly understand the sacrifices in behind it. Today's conversation isn't about trophies or titles. It's about the decisions that quietly shape a life long before anyone is watching. My guest has represented teams, traveled internationally, competed under pressure, earned recognition for his achievements, and now begins a new chapter by investing in the next generation through his own martial arts school. But that's not why I invited him here. I invited him because excellence always leaves clues. And today, we're going to look for them. Ozzy, welcome to the Eminence Legacy podcast, and I'm very thankful that you were able to make it. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a minute. I've seen you on the news. I've seen you on newspapers. Before we even get into martial arts, I noticed something when you answered my questionnaires that I sent.
Yes, sir.
You said something to the effect, Ozzy is the person everyone sees in the gym, but Xavier is who I am when I'm not at the gym. So today we're here to ask, who is Xavier? And who is Ozzy? Were those always two different people? And so martial arts wasn't some childhood destiny. You basically found it because every other sport wasn't working.
Yes, that's exactly it. Growing up, I just didn't have any luck in basketball, didn't have any interest in sports, traditional sports, school sports like football, baseball, track. Growing up, I was actually pretty lazy. So my parents were struggling to find where they could put me to get active, right? So one day my dad took me to this gym, and that's where I met my first instructor. His name was Benny Pineda, and he introduced me to the world of martial arts. Funny enough, the only reason I really did stay to continue training was because there was this kid that he kept beating me in every sparring I had, and I told my dad I'd get it back. And unfortunately, that day didn't come because he did quit. He got hit pretty hard at a tournament, and he just didn't feel like competing anymore. So we were still super young. This was at the age of like 9, 8. So understandably so, I continued training regardless. And I tried football, but it didn't quite work for me. I didn't have the knack for football like I did for martial arts. So I created this alter ego being Ozzy. The reason why everyone knows me as Ozzy is my middle name is Ociel. And back when I first started with my original martial arts professor, he had asked me for my name, said, call me Ozzy. It just became Ozzy from then on. And every time I'd enter a gym, any martial art, if I didn't know them personally, we weren't like personally close, it would just be Ozzy. I still have friends, really close friends, who call me Ozzy. And that's not to say that they don't know who Xavier is. It's just that's the person that I switch into when business means business and work needs to get done. See, the thing is, I wouldn't say that those are two different personalities, but from the same person. Xavier's the person who steps out of the gym, goes to school, presents the family time and all that. And it's a switch that needs to be turned on when business means business.
Well, take me back when you first walked into the gym, when you first walked into the mats. What was it like? How old were you? And actually, right now that you mention it, I actually know Benny Pineda. He used to work at a place where I knew him. So I know who he is. I know he had a school here in Laredo, and then he had one in Nuevo Laredo. Yeah. And I think it's karate, right? Or
it is Taekwondo, but it is in a different federation. See, the federation I was competing in was WTF, World Taekwondo Federation. That's the Olympic version. The ITF is International Taekwondo Federation, where it's essentially kickboxing, right? In a way, different rules, obviously. ITF, you can strike the head, and there's an option to do point sparring or to do continuous, in which you can continue for the full 2 minutes, and kicks of all kinds and specific strikes are allowed, but they don't stop the match when you get a point. It allows you to continue like an actual match.
Take me back to the first time you walked in the dojo. Like, what was it like? How old were you? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
Honestly, when I first set foot on those mats, it was so foreign because you grow up thinking you have to do the regular sports. And that's all you ever see. Yeah, I feel like martial arts is underlooked, matter of fact. These days, I feel like it's getting more light, but my initial thoughts going in there was like, I wanted to go home. I was a young kid. I was 6 years old. In my little mind, all I wanted to do was go home and play the game, right? I was on the 360 from time to time. My day consisted of going to school, coming home, helping around just a bit, and then playing the game. Not the best childhood, right? It's what's usual for most, but that's what my parents wanted me to get more active. I didn't know what to think when I stepped in there. It was super foreign to me.
Okay, so Ozzy is a person in the dojo, or when in his business, and Xavier is a guy that goes out, hangs out with his friends, and is around family.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of kid were you when you were growing up?
Great question. What kind of kid was I growing up? All right, so let's see. I was very outgoing. I was known by many, but I wouldn't say I was friends with many. They were more like acquaintances. Growing up, doing the martial arts and all that, once I realized that I could do more with the sport, I took that responsibility. I decided, hey, let's see where this goes. My dad was pushing me to reach these greater heights, and I agreed because while he wasn't wrong, obviously I had my doubts. Growing up, like I said, martial arts is very underlooked. So whenever someone would find out I did martial arts, they would kind of scoff at it because it just wasn't something you'd expect anyone to do. So I would avoid telling people that I did taekwondo karate, because whenever I would, the immediate thought would be like, oh, like the Karate Kid. And they would picture those movie tropes. And I was like, that's not what it's like at all. But that's why I would avoid speaking about it. And that's why I had to split the personalities between martial arts and the me that I present to the public or my family. I would be lying if I said I wasn't embarrassed about it. Looking back on it now, it was never something to be embarrassed about. I just didn't like that people would portray it as like something that only happened in the movies rather than something that can actually be pursued in real life. So growing up doing the sport, it really did help me. It gave me something better to do. Kids my age were either making dumb decisions or putting the time into things that just, they weren't the best. I believe that peace is very different from solitude. I guess they could be the same. Growing up, I didn't have as many friends because I dedicated myself to the sport, the competitions and the weight cuts and dieting. It was also foreign to people who didn't have the vision that I had, but I trusted the process. Along the way, the people who stayed showed me that they are the real people in my life, the friends that I made. Those were the people that stuck around and appreciated and supported the journey. That's just what it is. I separated the two different personalities because one of them was understood and one was not as understood. Ozzy was understood in the gym, right? Of course. And it taught me a lot of discipline. It shaped the world around me.
One thing that got my attention, so you said that martial arts wasn't your childhood destiny, but you found it.
Yeah.
Did you actually try out for the other sports, and what was the difference? What was the feeling like? What's the big difference between a team sport and something that's really on your shoulders? Like martial arts, it's all you. You can't blame the coach. You can't blame the person that's in the match. You can't blame the audience. It's all you. When you think back, and if you did try out, what was the difference, and what called you the most that say, you know what, this is really where I'm at?
All right. So that's actually, you brought up a really good point. I tend to tell people this a lot of times when that question is brought up. The reason why I believe martial arts is not only just a sport or a hobby, it's a way of life. And it's because when you do team sports, traditional sports, you have teammates to rely on. The journey is often less lonely, less solitude. And if you're doing bad on that day, you always have someone to encourage you to push it, or you always have someone to pick up the slack, right? And see, the thing is with martial arts, it really makes you zone in on you as a person. When you perform bad, you can't blame anyone else. Maybe you could point some fingers at the coach, but at the end of the day, is the coach really in there doing the work? But you could only do so much, and all the pressure just remains on you. And that's what really forces you to confront yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what happened out there? There is no one else to point fingers at but yourself. And that's what makes the sport so beautiful. It forces you to focus in on yourself and really ask yourself the hard questions in order to succeed in these matches. When I would compete, at first, it was rough. The one thing that I did lack was that desire, that hunger to just knock the person out and finish the match, or finish, push when the final seconds are coming and you're behind 2 points. I excelled in technique and precision. Those were my best attributes. But the one thing I was always lacking was being able to ask myself the hard questions. I had a lot of trouble in the ring. I feel like life is one big fight. If you don't stop and ask yourself why you keep falling down, you're just going to keep falling down. You're going to keep getting hit with the same hits. You'll never stop and wonder why you keep getting hit with those same hits. And it wasn't until I got up and realized no one was going to help me up. It's only me in that ring. And no one's going to come to save me. And something just clicked.
Yeah.
And that's the major difference I see between the two, team sports and martial arts, individual sports. None is better than the other, but I believe both require a different mindset to excel.
Yeah, when you were talking about matches and about being beat, takes me back to that kid that you mentioned that he kept beating you. Were you guys at the same level as far as technique? Was he ahead of you? And what did it mean losing to him that woke you up ever since then? Because what you're saying right now, it's a more mature look into it. But back then, it was already nagging on you
Yeah.
because that's the reason you wanted to go back in the ring. So if you think about it, you already had that, but you didn't know how to figure it out, how to put it into perspective yet. And as you mature, now you're able to vocalize it and put it into words. What did it feel like? What did it wake you up inside of you? Like, what did it tell you when you were losing to him?
Well, there was definitely a skill gap. The kid was already a brown belt. ITF's got different belt colors and all that. And I was like a yellow belt, right? So huge gap. The kid's been doing it for way longer than I have. I guess I was frustrated that I wasn't excellent at something right away. I had the privilege to be a lower belt and be able to spar with a higher rank. And, you know, the saying, iron sharpens iron. In this case, it was the iron, but I was nowhere near being iron. But he was sharpening me. And the difference that it made was that I had either the choice of snapping or sharpening. And I chose to sharpen. I chose to keep going. It wasn't, honestly, it was just childhood spite. Like, it was just being chiflao, just deciding to continue going, not because I loved it, but because I didn't want to keep losing to him. And that's what drove me to just continue. The gap was there, and I realized the gap was there. But sparring with him every single day, I learned something every single time we'd spar. And eventually, when I finally did reach the skill, I didn't even get to spar the guy.
Yeah, it happens. Tell me something. Who first believed in you before you actually believed in yourself? You were struggling with that. Who was the first person that saw that potential in you and say, you know what, he's got something?
Definitely, I'd say my dad. My dad kept pushing me to pursue this path. I tried football for a bit in between. Like I said, it didn't feel right. I couldn't get the plays right. My footwork was on point, obviously, but I just couldn't wrap my head around the plays. I wouldn't say I sucked at catching a ball, but I guess if I wasn't pretty good at it, then I guess I did. He saw this potential in me before I even did. I didn't even consider this being a path. Like I said, I was in a way ashamed to even say I was doing martial arts. I had my mind in tunnel vision, just seeing one thing only instead of opening up, seeing that there's a broader photo to all of this. But he showed me there could be more. He showed me there was much potential to be found in competing and everything we did. He only grew happier and happier about what the future could look like if we continued pursuing this path.
Yeah. So you also mentioned Mr. Quesada.
Yeah.
That was a pivotal moment in your journey. What did he see in you that maybe you hadn't seen in yourself yet? Were there some words that he said maybe that still linger in your mind? You say, you know what, I missed that. Or what was it that he saw?
Well, when I first met Coach Quesada, it was at a UT Rumble. The UT Austin has their own Taekwondo team and they host their own events. Rumbles are just events where people from different dojos of Taekwondo, they come to test themselves or to gain experience for the event. I got the chance to spar one of his students. This guy, I wouldn't say he was anything special. He was just educated. He was very educated on the sport and how, you know, the roadmap to what tournaments to avoid and what tournaments to go to that will actually benefit you. So after I sparred his student, no one else could give that student a fight. And I was one of the few that was able to put up a fight with this guy. And after the match, he told me, hey, you look really good out there. Would you be interested in coming to train at my dojo or, you know, competing under my name? At the time, we didn't really have a professional coach coaching us. You know, I was more of a freelance type of guy. I was freelancing around, learning as much as I could, you know, around Texas. Anyone who would invite me, I would go and I would train with them. It didn't matter if there was a skill gap. I was going there to learn. I went in there with the intention to learn. When I went to go train with this guy, he showed me the roadmap, an entire way to reach the Olympics. He showed me a clear map of tournaments you could go to, and if you got gold or at least second, you could have a contender's chance to be one of the few selected for the Olympics. Meeting him changed the way I saw the world of tournaments. It changed the way I saw training. Up until then, my mentality was just go to every single tournament, just go and kick ass and figure things out after. Just go and handle business first. I was working hard. I wasn't working smart. This guy was working hard and smart. He knew that it was futile going to these useless tournaments, potentially injuring yourself in the process and doing year-round weight cutting when you could have a semi-relaxing season while still obtaining just as much points for these tournaments. He introduced me to the international stage, and this is why I say that was a pivotal point. This guy opened doors that some coaches out there, they don't cater to the kids. They cater to the money. And at the end of the day, it is a business. But see, that's what separated this coach. Coach Quesada did it for the kids. He did it for the love of the game. Money was involved, yes, but he was giving us his info for the free. He wasn't telling us, hey, you got to do this, 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 and then I'll tell you. He was telling us because he genuinely wanted us to reach a new height. And that's what I really appreciate about him. I met many coaches in my lifetime, and this guy was very different. Very humble, very honest, very caring. He saw potential in people that otherwise other coaches would overlook. He was looking for diamonds in the rough. When I met him, I was a diamond in the rough.
So you're still a young man, and I could see the energy in your voice. But, you've already experienced things most people your age haven't. And to be honest with you, even older people haven't experienced what you have experienced. Do you think that martial arts forced you to grow up faster? Or what do you think it did for you?
I believe it did. I believe it did it forced me to grow up faster. And that's because this discipline requires another mentality to excel. There's a difference between a hobbyist and a martial artist. The hobbyist does this after work to stay fit. He does this to get a good sweat in, good cardio. The martial artist examines everything in their life, and they see martial arts in everything they do. That was the same for me when I started realizing that. To me, it is really more than a sport. As exaggerated as that might sound, I really do believe that this sport has helped me make better decisions for myself. It's helped me get out of bed and fight the good fight. I'm where I am today because of the decisions I've made, and those decisions were dictated by whether it be my father or martial arts. What I can tell you is that everything I did, although it might have been dictated in a way by the sport and the profession that I did, I was still me. I still had my wants, and I was still a kid. And to be honest, I'm a young man now, right? I feel like I'm able to make better judgments and better decisions, but that comes with age. Martial arts helped me to develop the way I speak. It forced me out of my comfort zone. Things that the average kid wouldn't be doing. I'd probably be really quiet and somewhat shy if I wasn't doing what I was doing. I feel like Ozzy is the person that helps Xavier be more vocal, right? I feel like myself, Xavier's he's not too vocal. He keeps to himself. He doesn't share anything about himself unless he's asked. But when it comes to Ozzy, they help each other out. The personalities clash in a good way, and as a result, this is what you get. You get someone who's at tournaments talking to competitors, asking coaches for tips after maybe I have a hard match and I get beat up. The first thing in my mind is, well, what can I fix? Xavier wouldn't ask that. Probably be stuck in a ditch, wallowing in self-pity. But Ozzy was there to help. Ozzy was there to tell him, a defeat doesn't mean everything's over. It just means you got to get back up and just keep trying. There's much to learn in this profession, and Even the best of the best, they have their lowlights. You're no exception. So, yes, I do agree that it forced me to grow up better. Was it bad at times? Yes, I missed out on birthday parties, quinceañeras, get-togethers. I missed out on having a good connection with friends that understood what I was doing and being able to, obviously eat whatever I wanted to. There came a time when people around me just stopped inviting me to do things because I was always busy with my sport. With that, it came the isolation. But sometimes you have to grind to shine. There's no other way to do it. It's the law of equivalent exchange. To be great, you have to be on your own path. You have to do your own thing and go through your own struggles. Just because you have to fight your battles alone, I realized it didn't mean I had to grow alone. And that was a big breakthrough for me growing up, and it's like a switch that flipped on me. I couldn't keep that negativity in mind if I wanted to grow as a person. I had to realize, although I'm in the ring alone, when I train, it doesn't mean I have to train alone all the time. It doesn't mean I have to be negative about it. I believe it's all about perspective. And everything I'm saying now is what I've learned, the accumulated collection of knowledge that I've picked up fighting all types of people around America, around Texas and Ecuador, Querétaro, international. So these perspectives that I've seen from them, and everything shaped me into who I am today.
Yeah, I call that compound exposure.
That's what it is.
Let me ask you something. What's something people admire about your life that they probably wouldn't be willing to endure or even try it?
All right. What I've heard from most people, parents and kids alike, is the perseverance and the determination. I believe in this quote where it says, "It's not the power of the river that splits rocks in two. It's the persistence of the river." The river flows naturally. It's not strong enough to break a rock. But over time, with consistency, the rock will begin to erode, and eventually it'll split. I like to think of myself like water, because I myself am nothing special. I've had lots of parents and people tell me, "Oh, you're so lucky, you're gifted." And in my mind, it's like they didn't see all the hard days, all the hard nights, the tears, the weight cutting, the having to stick it out in the sauna for hours just trying to drop those pounds. They didn't see the early mornings, having to wake up 6 a.m., 5 a.m., drive to Austin, go to San Antonio, catch a flight for a tournament or a camp. It was hard to get out of bed. That's what I mean by it's the river. It was the consistency. It wasn't luck. It was determination and consistency. And I am by far the least gifted person. I'm 5'7", and I'm in a town where people don't really agree with this mindset. They don't really see eye to eye with martial arts. Most kids stick to school sports, and this is something so foreign. It's why I believe that I am nothing special. It's consistency. It's not being negative saying that I'm nothing special. I am humble enough to admit I am just like every other person here. I'm human. I have feelings. I have a mind. I have free will. Just because we can do whatever we want doesn't mean we should. That's where that self-discipline comes in.
Makes me think that while other teenagers were living a pretty normal life, yours looked very different. Like when you think about it, at that time, did you feel like you were sacrificing something, or did you already understand the price that it came with to obtain what you have?
So see, here's the thing. When I was competing and training, at first, it was fun. At some point, I started losing the spark, and I hit a wall that I just couldn't overcome. Eventually, I started wanting to be like everyone else. Have a normal life. Be able to go out to the mall with friends, be able to just go and eat whatever I want when friends invite me, and go to events, I wanted a break away from all the egoists on the stage. It was very hard to make friends. Everyone was out to get me, or rather each other. It's competitive. You step into a venue with that many fighters, Some of them are in there to just knock you out and rip your head off. It's that egoist. There's a room full of egoists. So finding camaraderie was just hard, and to be honest, it scared me. And that's why I wanted an escape. I was tired of living under that pressure of egotism, and I wanted to just be normal, find good friends. And that's when my father comes into to the broader story, and he showed me that these abilities that I've worked hard for, they weren't a curse where I didn't have to not make friends. See, everything comes at a time. Everything's got its own time. This is saying there's two things in life you don't go searching for, and that's love and any aspect, and death, because those will find you when the time is right. Right? You don't go looking for a friend. The friends will find you. Friendship will come find you, whether it be relationships or anything. And those are two things that find you when the time is right. Now, I'm a very big believer in God, and I believe that these hard times that I had, they were just there to make me stronger, to be able to carry the weight of the pressure that I was carrying. A lot of people pray for easier times, but I believe we should be praying for a stronger mind and body to be able to carry these harder times. And my dad, he was there to let me know that although I was missing out, the truth is I really wasn't. There's nothing I was missing out on, and everything I was gaining was more than I could comprehend at my age. It changed my mentality forever, for the better. For better, for worse. I always take the good and the bad, and you learn from it. I used to be stuck up on problems I had and issues in my private life, but, time and time again, martial arts has showed me that regardless if you lose someone in your life or you lose friends, good times always come to an end. The sun always sets in paradise regardless. But martial arts is always there to let me know, hey, the one thing you're in control of is you. At the end of the day, it's always going to be me and the mat. The way of the fist, the way of the foot. That's really that is what I have at the end of the day. Right? It goes back to, you got to be your own hero. You got to be your own hero. Obviously, it's great to have, I was lucky enough to have my dad to guide me and keep me on the right path. Although I didn't see it yet, he already knew what was in store for me in the future. We had our arguments. What father and son don't argue? What, kid doesn't argue with the parents? But at the end of the day, now I'm older and I see that I really didn't miss out on much. In a way, I did want to be normal. But if I was normal, then I wouldn't be accomplishing what I'm accomplishing today, and I wouldn't be sharing my wisdom with the younger generation. I wouldn't be passing the torch on to people who otherwise don't have a father or a mother to tell them what I can tell them. I want to be a hero for them that I couldn't be for myself when I was younger.
Yeah, the way I see that is, I try to be the person they needed back then.
Exactly.
So with all that said, I know you mentioned a couple of things that martial arts cost you, but what was the main thing that martial arts cost you in life? Like, was there anything that you say, man, I should have done at least that?
Let's see. The one thing it costed me, I'd say living in the moment. Martial arts is very fast paced, and I guess I grew accustomed to move on to the next step, move on to the next step, move on to the next step. What's next? I always asked what's next, but I never asked what was going on now. And I feel like this is a very non-traditional answer to that question. Most people will say like they'll miss out on going to parties and stuff. But my answer to that is, the one thing I skipped out on was living in the moment. I didn't appreciate the good times back then. I had it good. I didn't really realize I had it good until time passed. These days, I'm appreciating every moment I have. I took a nice long break to really assess myself and also to get accustomed to college, right? But the one thing I did miss out on was living in the moment. All these tournaments I went to, honestly, I can remember the emotions, but I couldn't really tell you how I really felt in that exact moment. See, the thing is that since I was always running on what's next, when I would win, I didn't really feel the excitement or the rush of the win. In my mind, it's like, oh, this is a stepping stone. Let's move on to the next one. At what point does a win stop being a stepping stone? I never really appreciated the moments I lived with the people in my life. I spent more time living out of a suitcase and traveling to fight than I did being at home and in school. If you ask any one of my classmates back in high school, how often was he in class? And they're going to tell you, oh, this guy was missing for weeks at a time. My attendance is still good, though. I was really good friends with the attendance people, and they knew what I was doing was way bigger and broader aspects. But if you really ask them, I was gone for the majority of it. When I did have the chance to go chill with them, we didn't see eye to eye. Two different perspectives clashing on each other. As much as I wanted to be normal, it was kind of like I was being someone who I wasn't. I guess I could say I outgrew the atmosphere. But yeah, that's one thing that I wish I could have slowed down and appreciated what was right in front of me, rather than wondering what's next. Because, tomorrow isn't promised.
Yeah. There's this quote from a movie. It's an old movie from the 80s. Probably your dad knows about it. Ferris Bueller, Day Out. He says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop, look around once in a while, you'll miss it. And that's one of the things that when you think about it is, if you're not careful, you will miss that, because you don't ever want the title to become your identity. Yes, it's good to have the titles, but when they strip all that away from you, who are you at the end? That's what you need to think about. Because, I understand that we're seeking that. And you know why we do it? We do it because we want to quiet the voices in our head or in our soul that tells us that we might not be good enough. So we have to prove to ourselves again and again. So yeah, it's very important that we don't chase the titles and enjoy the process, and like you say, take in the air and just breathe. Let me ask you, was there ever a point where being a fighter became so much of your identity that you started losing Xavier? That you're like, man, where is he now? Like, you were just Ozzy all the time, and it's like Xavier was gone.
There was a point in time, that's when I lost myself, and I started asking myself, it's as you said, at what point does the title take over? And that's the thing. I was so involved in what I was doing. Eventually, I just kind of became like a robot. Like, I was just training out of obligation. I was training and fighting out of obligation. My interests were lost, and eventually started questioning myself, where I would ask myself, take away the medals, take away the sport. Who am I as a person? Who can I answer that positively? If someone asked me, who were you? Could I answer that with an honest, straightforward answer of who I am? And I realized that I couldn't. I continued training, but the motivation was gone. Like, the fire was dwindling, and Ozzy was burnt out. There's a reason why I have two different people, two different mindsets. And that's because when one side is burnt out, the other is there to cool it down. The other is there to, what things relax you. And I lost that. Since I didn't appreciate moments and I didn't really go out with people. I found myself realizing I didn't really have friends outside the sport. The ones I did make, they were great, but they still didn't know me. They still didn't know who I was. I can't blame them. I only showed them as much as I let them see. But I did lose myself for a moment. Ozzy was in control for so long, and the being on edge and being ready for the next fight and being ready for the next training, it became a part of my life that I grew so accustomed to, I couldn't separate it from who I was. These days, it's much, much better. Fixed it on my own, actually. Just a lot of thinking, a lot of reflecting. Training for the hobby rather than for the competition really shifted everything around.
You said something in the questionnaire that stayed with me. the one I send you, it said something to the effect, I moved as fast if I were only built for fighting. What does that mean, or what did it mean back then? Because right now you're saying you're not stuck there anymore, but what did it mean when you said those words, or when you thought about those words?
Yeah, that was one of the main things that I struggled with. See, the thing is that I wasn't always the brightest in the room. I wasn't always the smartest. I would average 80s and 70s because I didn't really give much care to subjects I didn't see would benefit me. I loved biology and I loved history, so I would always do good in those. But when it came to mathematics and other subjects I didn't really take interest in, I guess I started believing that I wasn't smart. Like I started talking myself down. And then that's part of the reason why Ozzy was more of the time in control, because in my mind, he wasn't good for academics. What was Xavier good for? What was he there for? That's why I lost that piece. And I believed that I was like training like a robot, or like doing this out of obligation, because I had already lost Xavier. Xavier's the one who started the journey. He's the one who built the foundation and laid out the mats to build what I've built. Ozzy was created because of Xavier. And over time I lost that vision of what I was working towards, or why I was even doing this in the first place. It was an overload of negativity. And without Xavier to assess the problems and quiet the mind and really assess everything, it was just Ozzy just being so negative, and working out of obligation, not because of passion. The passion died at the time. That's what that meant. Being a robot and working like that, tournaments felt like business meetings. Going to open events felt like meetings. Everything became a burden rather than a learning experience. That's what it was.
You know, I've always believed this. People applaud the harvest, but very few volunteer for the season that produced it. Everyone wants the fruit, but very few are willing to become the tree.
Exactly.
With that said, I want to ask you this. What did becoming the man sitting here I'm talking to, what did that man sitting right now cost the kid you used to be?
Well, see, what did that cost me? I'll tell you one thing. It definitely costed me my youth. I gave my youth to the sport. I gave my heart, soul, and mind to the sport. And although it sounds bad saying it out loud, it actually benefited me in the long run, by far. Like I said, you gotta grind before you shine. And I was grinding. Along the way, there's going to be bumpy roads. Nothing's going to be perfect. Like you said, the harvest. Everyone wants to be there when you're at the peak, but nobody wants to help you build your way to the peak. A lot of people support these influencers that don't even know their name. They don't have any regard for people except their own. And they mindlessly give them the attention and gratification, while someone they know is out there putting the work in to be something greater, but they don't support. It's only until that person rises to the top that they're like, oh, okay, I see you now. Yeah, well, where were you when I was building? As troubling and as negative as the journey might have seemed and sounded, looking back now, all I see is lessons learned, and all the times I didn't give up, all the times I kept getting back up. It's like wishing to have Spider-Man's powers, but you should be wishing for the determination and consistency that Peter Parker had. It's like Peter's the one who makes Spider-Man. Spider-Man's just a tool, the gadget. Without the suit, Peter's still a hero. He's still a hero. The suit's just the alter ego. Should be wishing for the power to continue moving despite having many hardships in your life. Because when people say nothing lasts forever, that applies to bad times too. Bad times don't last forever. Good times don't last forever. It's a cycle. It's a yin and yang. There cannot be negatives without positives. And life's all about negatives and positives. Every season comes to an end. That is just another chapter and an option, not option, but a challenge for you to overcome. to show yourself yet again that you are getting stronger in each and every single obstacle that comes your way.
You mentioned something earlier that you said that you're a firm believer of God. Right now that we're talking about nothing lasts forever, I do want to say something that people get confused. Happiness is temporary. It's a temporary status, but joy is something that you could be joyful and still be going through pain. I'll give you an example. There was times that you were probably exhausted and maybe beat up after a match, but there was that joy that you had that the people that you cared about were around you. So yes, it wasn't the perfect moment, but you had that feeling of joy, like, man, it wasn't the way I thought it was going to go, but the people that care about me around me. I just want to put that out there because people that are listening get caught up on this thing that happiness is temporary, but I want us to focus on joy. Joy, you could have it anytime, even when you lose someone. The loss of somebody, but you being able to have spend time with them in their final moments, that's still joyful because you get to remember everything that you did with them. I just wanted to put that out there because we're talking about seasons and times that last and don't last. And one of the things that we need to always reach for is that thought that we could be joyful even when things are falling apart. And let me ask you this, what's harder? Was it the training or performing when everyone expects you to win?
I believe, contrary to popular belief, I believe that the training was actually the harder part. See, the thing is that when people put this pressure on you about they saying that, oh, you're going to win, you have to win, I started realizing that you shouldn't view that pressure as bad. You should view it as like, these people believe in you so much that they have no doubt in their mind you're going to win. And yes, with the untrained mind, I believe it'll crush you. But it's all about shifting perspectives. Pressure builds diamonds. The pressure that was put on me was winning, of course. So before I shifted perspectives, the pressure would crush me and my own mind would crush me. But with recent tournaments and recent matches that after the shift happened, I realized they believe in me so much. So why can't they do the same for me? If someone like that can believe, if they can see that you're capable of this greatness, why can't I look myself in the mirror and say, you're capable of this greatness? So I realized they believe in me. I should believe in me too. This pressure is not a burden. It is a compliment. It's a compliment telling you that you are so good at what you do and you train so hard for this that I have no doubt in my mind that you can win this. It's their way of saying there's no excuses out of it. You've put the work in. We expect nothing but gold. On the happiness thing, I believe that happiness, like you said, it's in the moment. It's an emotion we feel when something good happens. It's temporary. Finding joy in the struggle, or rather the process, it's a very good quality that you have to build over time. And it's trusting the process. And only when you trust the process will you learn to find joy in the struggle. This is what makes the outcome so special. The outcome wouldn't be special without the journey. Someone could buy a black belt and wear the black belt, but they won't feel anything of it because they didn't work for it. And that's why when you're climbing a mountain, metaphorically, and you make it to the top, the only reason the view is so beautiful is because you were able to climb despite all the hardship. The outcome has no value if there is no journey towards the outcome. And that is when you realize that the joy you feel at the top, you can only feel that joy because you lived in the moment, and each and every step along the way, the people you met, the choices you made, that is what makes the gold, the trophy, the peak, that is what makes it more beautiful than any view out there. It's realizing that you did this because you wanted to and because of the help of many. That's the main difference between, you believe, that the happiness and the joy.
I know that you've competed nationally and internationally. How different is the pressure when your name is on the bracket versus when your country's name is on your chest? What's the difference?
The difference is when your name is on the bracket, it's still on you if it's international, it's the country, right? But the difference is that when your name is on the bracket, solely just your name, you're not really letting down the country's pride. You're more just letting yourself down. You know, it's no different for a fighter that's representing their home country, because they'll still feel that. But the only reason it's so much more different is because it's the weight of the name. It is the weight of the competition. Oftentimes, when we compete and our name's on the bracket, we're not representing anything but our school. We still go into the win, but when you lose, it hurts a little less than when you will compete with your home country on the backside of your uniform, because you're going there and you're there because you are the best of your age and you're there representing your home country, being the best of your age. And so if you perform badly, that is a reflection on the standard that they set to select you. And it's not a good look on the people who were recruiting. It is not a good look on you. And that's why it's so much worse. It feels both better to win and even worse to lose. Those are the main differences. See, going to a regular tournament, say a nationals, you'll lose.
Yeah.
It's all right. You can get back up and do it again. The same applies to international, but obviously, like I said, the weights to the losses and the wins are vastly different.
Yeah.
The international stage is something else. It's a league of its own. It's a mindset of its own. The local, it's its own thing too. Those are the main differences. It's the wins and the losses is the weight of when you're international, you just have more eyes on you. You're supposed to be the best of your age group. So that was the main difference.
I didn't think about that somebody else practically vouched for you, that you're good. And now you have to live up to the moment. You had told me that there was a national tournament where you were, I think it was 4 pounds over within about a week left. And things started to fall apart between you and your parents. And you were forced into a break. Take me back there. What happened, or what were you thinking? What were you feeling?
Man, so this was, I believe, 2024 Nationals, USA TKD Nationals, the Pro League. I wasn't taking the cut as well. This was at the point where I was fighting under obligation rather than with passion. And cutting weight every day. I mean, can you imagine leaving school? I had half days. I was a senior at the time. I had half days, and that means I was able to leave like after 12. Imagine waking up, going to school, doing your work, and then after going straight to the sauna, going in there, staying in there for about 2 hours, doing workouts inside the sauna. And then when you get home, you have a limited food intake, you have a limited water intake, and then you have to go train again. So paired all that with the negative mental, it was absolutely destructive. It was destructive. I was hungry, I was tired, I was battered, I was beaten. And the only thing on my mind is I just wanted to leave it all behind. I wanted to leave martial arts behind. I was 4 pounds over, and I was confident I could easily cut that because I've done it before. It's nothing new to me. But the thing is, I guess my parents were mad about how I was taking the cut. My mom was telling me if I was going to take food with me because I was going to go with my coach to the tournament. And I told her, no, I'm going to lay off the food just a little bit. And I'm going to do a little bit of a liquid diet. The day's closing in. There's about 3 days left. And I was confident I could lose it. I still had plenty of water in my body to cut for the sweat. But my mom just wasn't having it. And she was mad about it. Argument started. Pressure started. And they just told me I wasn't going. And I was devastated because I cut for this long and I worked hard for this long. And you know what? They probably saw something that I couldn't see. Maybe I was going to go in there with a bad mental Probably would have gotten the daylights knocked out of me because I wasn't all there focused, right? So it sucked in the moment. I was 4 pounds over. Regardless, I knew I could cut it, but it wasn't the best thing to do. I was forced into that break. College was starting up soon. That was first semester, second semester, summertime when the tournament was going to happen and all that. I realized, you know what, like, why don't I just take a break? It's time to take a break. I've burnt myself out. I lost who Xavier was, and I was just running off of Ozzy's fumes. So I was like, you know what, it's time to take a step back and start looking at something else. And the rest is history.
At that point, what hurt you more? Was it the possibility of not competing or realizing you didn't know why you were not competing anymore?
It was why I wasn't competing anymore. At the time, it kind of felt like my mom gave up on me with the sport. She was always too scared to go watch me fight. I don't know a mother that would want to see their kid go into a fight. I don't blame her. She was always supportive, though. Maybe my meal preps and everything. She supported me in her own way, even if it meant not going to watch me fight. But in that moment, when she told me that I wasn't going and all that, if I went, that I was going to lose if I went. And then to me, those words, they hurt more than hearing some random out there telling me that I wasn't going to win because I was coming from my mom, right? So at that point, I took a step back and I had to ask myself, like you said, what hurt more, right? And it was why I wasn't competing anymore. That to really sit back and sit with my emotions and really wonder, what is it that's with me that's stopping me from continuing this?
So you said that there was a moment where you were performing under obligation instead of purpose. Whose expectations were you carrying, or do you think you were carrying somebody else's expectations?
Great question. And the answer to that would be that I was carrying the expectations of my dad and all the coaches out there that gave me their blessing, right? It wasn't only just my dad, but it was the coaches that put their faith in me, their whole heart and soul into training me. So I was carrying around that burden, and it was weighing me down rather than letting me grow. It should have been letting me grow. With the right mindset, it would have helped me grow. But growing up, I wasn't prepared for the mental capacity at that age. I'm going to be 19 next Monday. I'm only 18 now. I burnt myself out in the years of 16 to 17. I did what most people couldn't in their entire careers of martial arts, and that is reaching the professional stage, the professional league. I had to put in hours upon hours of work and knowledge on how to handle the body and cut weight. And I did that in about 2 years and a half. And I really time crunched it all to slip into the window of greatness. And with all that came expectations. These days, I can confidently say that expectations are a good thing, right? But back then, I was not in the right headspace, and I saw it as burden. And evidently, it burned me out, right? So that's the obligation I was performing under.
So what do you think is the difference between being capable of fighting and actually having something worth fighting for?
Difference between capability of fighting, anyone can fight. Anyone can fight. I'll tell you that much. If you got it in you, you can fight. But a dangerous fighter is someone who knows what they're fighting for. If you have a reason to fight, that puts you above every other fighter there that's only there out of obligation or whatever purpose it might be. If you have a purpose, that sets you apart from everyone in that room. And it's because when you fight with purpose, that shows that your mental is on a different wavelength. And it allows you to unlock your full potential and fight to your fullest. In your mind, when you fight with something in mind, with a goal and purpose, your entire body moves with your mind in sync. But when you fight to just fight, things are a little laggy. Like you missed a software update, and technique can only get you so far. I was competing with my friend and he's not a blood related brother, but to me he is. We grew up training together. His name's Kanai. He had what I didn't, and that was that fire inside him. He didn't have my technique. So he would get gapped with that. But whenever he would fight with absolute determination and fire. I could see it, even when we sparred. And I was always lacking what he had, and he was always lacking what I had. So it's like we were both two halves of one whole. And it made him more dangerous because the person with technique can only, defend so far, but the person with that fire and desire, they can go so much further if they really wanted to. That's what separates the person who fights to fight and the person who has a purpose in fighting.
So what are you fighting for now? What is Ozzy or Xavier fighting for now?
These days, I realized what you fight for doesn't have to be something special. I'm in with a new mentality, and my reason for fighting now is to show people that it's possible. That it's possible to be something greater than what people say you are. I feel like now I would fight for the people. Fight to show that these traditional sports, although great, little bias of me, but they will never be as good as martial arts. And it's like, if I were to fight now, I'm competing this October in a Mundial for ITF, and I'm going in there with a mentality of showing the kids that I'm training now and my family, friends, that I'm back, that I have this fire, that I'm fighting for something greater than just myself. I've removed the tunnel and now I can see the broader photo, and I'm seeing that this journey is so vast and so full of potential that I'm finally able to comprehend it at my age. I'm finally able to act upon the emotions, and I'm finally able to fight for something and move with purpose. We find that purpose in our daily routines and training every day. And that's why I say the training is the harder part, because finding that desire starts with going to training every day, showing up every day when you don't want to. It's easy to show up to a tournament and just perform. It's so much harder to show up every day and prep for the event. And that's where you're supposed to learn what you're fighting for. And every day I show up to practice and get the work in and teach these kids I'm teaching these days. I'm showing up with my utmost best. They deserve nothing but my best. I could have a million things happening outside, but once I'm in the gym, I give them my absolute best. Because it's my pride and joy. It's my pride and joy. If I were to go into a match these days, it's showing them that I'm not the tallest, I'm not the strongest from a small town here, a little border town, and I'm still able to perform with the greats. I'm still able to belong up there. Although many will say I don't, I'm still able to be in that same room. I might not be the best in the room, but I'm still in the room. It's still there. And that's what I would want to show.
Yeah. The way I think sometimes is that pressure doesn't create character. It publishes the unedited version. So if you think about that, the pressure just publishes the unedited version of who you are supposed to be or who you are. So with that said, I want to ask you a question. What did that season publish about you?
That season published about me, I believe it showed me, and my biggest takeaway through all of it, and it's something that I can look back at now. The one thing I am so proud of, the one thing that surrounded and built this entire season that I went through, was my unwavering grit to be able to continue to get up after many disappointments. It took a lot of learning. It's all around the media. It's the media we consume. I had these two favorite animes I'd watch, Black Clover and My Hero, and both are stories about an underdog who were born into the world without powers of some kind. They end up earning their power rather than being born with it. And even though they're fictional, they're still stories that correlate very well with real life things. Because at the end of the day, the powers aren't what made them. They were able to gain these powers because of what they put in. This season showed me and it taught me that giving up was never an option. Just never give up. Never, ever give up. I learned to hold my head up high and realize that rather than complaining about the problems in life, I should be asking myself, what is it teaching me? I'm going through what I'm going through, not because the world hates me, but because maybe this is shaping me up to prepare for an even harder season. I believe that life doesn't get easier. I believe that we just get stronger. Life is life regardless. It's going to beat you down. There's going to be times where you just don't want to get up. And that's exactly why people need to realize that it's you that gets stronger. It's not, life doesn't get easier. You just get better at handling life's challenges. That's what it taught me. Just don't give up. Keep fighting the good fight. Be a good person. Be kind. Love. Don't hate because the rest of your surrounding is hateful. Be you. Don't succumb to the surrounding. I always believe in observing, but not absorbing. I have been around a variety of people of all different backgrounds, of all different circumstances, and in all scenarios, I observe, I never absorb. I always observe, I never absorb. Because that's what my character has become and built. Where I'm able to be anywhere and not be influenced. I'm able to stick to my morals, have strong morals, have a strong character. Just be a good person. Don't put people down because they're any less than you. There's no problem with being weak. The problem lies within staying weak. We come into this world weak. We choose to be stronger. Well, whatever case it might be, we choose to be stronger. Everyone starts somewhere. It's like, you're going to be weak regardless. That doesn't mean you have to stay weak.
Yeah. So you eventually said something to yourself. You said, I'm not just Ozzy or Xavier. I am me.
Yes, sir.
What did you finally understand when you actually came to grasp with that idea?
I finally realized that was me because I finally gave Ozzy the break he needed. He was gone now. Well, rather, he was on the bench. It finally gave Xavier some time to, resurface and reflect. That's when I found myself. Through just living my life. Just going about my day. Tackling daily issues, handling college on my own, handling classes on my own, and I was able to build Xavier back up. He got the same development that Ozzy got doing the tournaments, but he got in his own way. It wasn't until I realized there was no two people, they were just two halves of a whole. Both of them have qualities that can share between each other. It doesn't make you any more different. You're still, or rather, I'm still me. I just have two different ways of assessing issues and processing.
Did you have to stop being only a fighter before you could become the whole man that we're talking about?
I believe I did. I believe that strongest fighters are the ones that seek peace. The best fighter is the fighter that de-escalates, that avoids the conflict. I believe that the greatest warriors are the ones they know they're so strong, they have nothing to prove to anyone. So they seek peace and forgiveness. And that's what I had to learn. I had to stop living in a state of constant war to realize that only in finding peace and understanding yourself can you truly learn you are strong. Peace isn't a moment, it's a state of mind. It is a state of mind. It's not a moment. That is what I firmly believe.
Yeah, you are correct. And looking back, your father, you mentioned that he was hard at times with you. Looking back at this, what do you understand about him that you couldn't understand when you were younger? Because I know, like, now that you're older, you probably see things in a different light. So what do you see about him that you couldn't understand back then?
Great question. Looking back at it now, growing up like any other kid that will not see eye to eye with their parent, it's because back then I didn't see the full picture. I couldn't see further than what was in front of me. But, he was older and he saw the potential and he knew what it could be. He knew what I should avoid and what I shouldn't. I used to hold anger towards why he handled it the way he did when I was competing, because it just wasn't right. It wasn't until I realized that, look, parents aren't perfect, and there's no rule book to being a parent. You go off by what you learned, and you do what you do because of what you experienced. And the short, simple truth is that he didn't he didn't have a rule book to it. He did the best he could, and the best he did was better than I had imagined. Now, growing up, now I realize that none of it was ever his fault. He was just being a father. He was just trying to build a strong man. He did show me plenty of love. Back then, it was a little more challenging to see it. But the truth is that arguing with me all those times and pushing me was his way of saying he loved me and that he wanted nothing but the best for me. I saw it as conflict, but now I see that it was all an act of love. He wasn't letting his son stray the path. When someone tells you, the moment your coach stops telling you what you're doing wrong, he's given up on you. And that's exactly what it is. You should start worrying when they stop trying to help you, when they stop guiding you, when they just say, okay, you know what, you got it, and they let you go. That's when you should worry. Because a true loving and caring parent will continue to advise and help and argue and keep fighting for that better future that you as the kid can have. And I learned that now. He had his ways of doing it, and I might have not agreed, but what I can agree is that he was always there for me. He always took great care. He always, although he would build me up to knock me down, keep me humble. Not the best methods, but everything makes sense now that I'm older. And I realize it was all just his way of telling me he loved me and he cared for me.
With that said, is there anything about the way he pushed you that you would do differently with the kids you're about to teach?
But yeah, big time. That's the name of life. You live and you learn. Like I said, it's all built on experiences. With these kids, like I told you, I want to be that hero for them that I couldn't have. I'm not saying my dad wasn't my hero, but there's no problem with taking the good from it, removing the bad, and taking your good from it and making something new. And that's just what it is, and that's what I want to do. And that's like when I start teaching these kids on competition level, I'm gonna give them the advice that I've been telling you about. It's all about consistency. I learn better with images. I have to have something in front of me, a direct photo or some sort. My imagination, if I will. I learn better that way. Everyone has a different way of understanding and perceiving things. And that's why I say it's all about perspective. If you can reach the right perspective, the understanding will click. And that's all it is with people. Not one single person is the same. We all have our different ways of processing and enacting everything. With that said, I think the one thing that I enjoy that I've gotten out of this season is that I'm able to speak from the heart. I'm finally able to be vocal about things that I'm very passionate about. I'm able to finally, when it counts, speak from the heart, give good advice. I'm only 18 and I think I'm probably giving better advice than most people out there. That's what I would do differently. Take the good and the bad. I believe pushing is a good thing, but I believe there's a right way to do it. Rather not a right way, but a healthier way, a more proactive way. Old school works for a certain narrative of people, but that's just why we have to adapt to the differences that people have. And that's my goal with these kids. Teach them to be less hard on themselves and teach them that through perseverance, through determination, actually knowing what you want, anything's possible. I want to show them that impossible is just a word. Because I've been to the highest of heights. I was competing on the same mats Olympians where I went to the US Open. I was able to dap up CJ, take a photo with them, see two other Olympians that were at Paris that past year. And I was on those same mats competing just like them. Competing against all types of people. It was the US Open, international, everyone's allowed. And I'm like, I always go back to this, like I'm nothing special. You don't have to be special to reach these great heights. You just have to be you. You just have to be you. This journey that I took helped me find who I was.
You said something. You said, although I fought my battles alone, it never meant I had to grow alone. What's the difference?
See, the thing is, like I said, how life is just one big fight. That's what I mean by fighting your battles alone. But what do you do when you prepare for a battle is that you have to grow to be ready for the battle. And what that means, what that saying means, is that I went my life fighting my battles alone, and I was also growing alone for the most part. I was very isolated, and I realized that trainings feel better when you have someone with you. See, the thing is, my big bro, Kanai, he had his own life, and eventually, you know, he's already 22. He's got new priorities. I started competing alone again. He had to drop off and open the next chapter of life. He took his break. It was only a matter of time before I took mine. I think breaks are necessary, and he was helping me grow. He was helping me grow. And that's why I said you have to open your heart to grow so you can have the strength to fight your battles alone. So I say you realize, although you might be fighting your battles alone in the ring, because it's just you against you, it never meant you had to grow alone. Everyone needs a teacher. Everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs a parent. And that's what I mean by nobody should grow alone.
Okay. You've spent a large part of your life learning how to fight, yet somehow you keep coming back to the word kindness. Did you learning how to fight teach you when not to fight?
Yes, it did. It did. I believe that once you learn how to fight and you reach a certain level, you stop. Let me put it this way. The greatest fighters are the ones who avoid the conflict. The greatest fighters are the ones that de-escalate before they even throw a punch. See, I was fighting, but it didn't mean I enjoyed it, but I still did it. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to explain, because although I didn't enjoy fighting, matter of fact, there was always this issue I had that they would always tell me, my coaches and parents, they would tell me I was too nice. I believed in fighting with honor. I believed in fighting on equal terms, right? So when the person was back to me, when their eyes were turned away from me, or something happened in the match where they couldn't continue, most people would say go for the kill. But in my mind, I wanted a straightforward, honest fight to see who was really better than one another. No excuses, everything left on the mat. Not everyone sees it that way now in UFC and everything. It's literally the person who shows that kindness is often shunned because the other person is going to beat you. I believe there's a right way to do it, right? Now I've realized that kindness doesn't mean, kindness in the ring doesn't mean giving them a chance to beat you. It means leaving all of your effort on the mat, and at the end of it, pay your respects to them. You finish winning, pay your respects to them. Let them know they put up a fight. That's what I mean by kindness. I learned that now. In the next coming fights I have, I'm going to go all out. And at the end of it, I'm always going to let them know that I'm glad they showed up and I'm glad they showed out. It's just sportsmanship. It all comes down to sportsmanship. People see what kind of person you are when you fight, and the way that you behave and the way that you move, your fighting style. Everyone has a different fighting style. And that correlates to your personality. I strongly believe that. You can tell what type of person they are by the way they fight, by the way they move, their footwork, the way they look at someone in the eyes when they're about to fight. You can tell. And although it might be an alter ego that's showing up, it's still them. And I can definitely tell that. Although I might be a fighter, and although, blood, sweat, and tears might be stained on mats, I still choose kindness. I don't fight because I'm an angry person, because I want to kill anybody or hurt anyone. I do it because I have a great amount of respect for what I do, and at the end of the day, it's just taekwondo, it's just kickboxing, it's just MMA. That's all it is at the end of the day. You're still you. And it's very important to show sportsmanship, A lot of people might see it as weakness. I don't see it as weakness. I see it as sportsmanship. That's all it is. That's an example you put out for the kids. That's an example you put out for the people watching. Imagine you got kids you're teaching and all they see you fighting with such rage. You don't even bow to the person. You don't even pay your respects afterwards and say you knock them out or anything. And you don't even go check if they're okay. Is that really something you want to put out there? And that's why I believe in what I believe.
What does strength look like when you're not allowed to use your fist?
It's in the words. It's in the way that you speak. See, I believe the words cut deeper than any blade. That's the fact for anyone who's ever lived through anything like that. It's strength is in your words. Yeah, it's the power of the tongue. The words you say have a heavy impact on anything you do. It's even in the way you manifest things in your future. If you continue saying negative things are going to happen. If you say positive things, you're more likely to have positive things happen. Power outside of your hands, legs, and body is the mouth. The words you say, the things you think, powers in the mind and the way you speak, the way you describe things, the way you behave. That's power outside the ring. That's power outside the mat. Where you get to a point where you don't even have to fight. You can reach someone's heart just by the way you talk, the things that you've gone through.
What's something life has had to teach you that martial arts couldn't?
I'll tell you one thing. Nobody ever in any sport will hit me harder than life has. Life is unforgiving. Life is one big wave. You either gotta ride the wave or swim against it. Some people build the strength strong enough to swim against it and make their own opportunities. Other people ride the wave. They master to ride the wave. But life has taught me that unlike martial arts and fighting, you can't punch your way out of everything. I got into college and it challenged my intellect. I finished my freshman year. I'm going on sophomore year now. And I'm looking back now and I'm thinking, wow, like I really did that on my own too. The professors, oh man, professors sucked. It doesn't get better. They sucked. And it comes down to whether you want it or not. Martial arts didn't teach me that because, it's the way of the fist. Obviously, you can take good parts of it, take the mentality of it. Because when I would tell myself when I was studying, I'm like, man, I think I'd rather be cutting weight right now than reading all these chapters. That's what it doesn't teach you. It's like life is way different. It doesn't mean you can't incorporate things you've learned from martial arts into life because it's a lifestyle. What kept me pushing is because I've handled far harder challenges than studying for an exam or making a study guide or all these things. Knowing that I've accomplished harder things helped me accomplish what I was struggling with then. You can't punch your way out of everything, but you can think your way out of it. You can switch perspectives. Two very different aspects. Life and martial arts are different. At the end of the day, they're two halves of one whole. If you know the practice, if you've done the practice, it's really just two halves of one whole.
Yeah, that's true. And what do you feel that you're still a work in progress?
Definitely still being positive. It's hard to be positive sometimes. Nobody's perfect. I have to learn to practice what I preach. You can't just preach and not practice it. You have to practice what you preach. So I'm still working on that. I'm still working on the way I present myself out there, the maturity in the ways that I handle certain things, the mental that it takes to learn the business, because it's not opening this dojo isn't just, opening for fun. It's a business at the end of the day. It's forcing me to broaden my education into the business aspects of it, not just the Taekwondo aspects, not just the martial arts. It's teaching myself how to market, teaching myself how to run the numbers. So I'm getting better at that. I'm only 18. I'm about to be 19. Like you said, I'm still young. I'm a young man and I've got so much to learn and only time will tell. Challenges are going to come up just like anyone else's life. And at the end of the day, it's going to be how I handle them. I'm still a work in progress. And that shouldn't shy anyone away from, enrolling their kid to train because I'm young and I feel like that's what pushes people away. They don't think that I have what it takes. But I have all the medals and all the plaques to prove it. I have the photos and everything to prove that I am the real deal. So all I got to keep doing is showing up. Just keep showing up, practice what I preach, spread the word. Just spread the word and continue pushing hard on my studies. I'm doing college and I'm doing this. It's two things. I didn't believe in working for anyone. It's not necessarily ego that keeps me from being employed and having a manager bossing me around. It's that I realize when you gain the education, you realize that why work for pennies and slave away when you could build something of your own with a profession that you've put everything into. Martial arts is very lucrative. It's a very amazing business and it's a very amazing practice. So why not share that with the world? Why not make something out of that? I'm still competing. I'm a coach, but I'm still competing because I want to show the kids, hey, yes, I'm coaching you, but I'm putting my practices on the mat. Nobody questions you like, oh, how do you even know this works? Because I've been there. Because I'm still doing it. So as I learn to be a better fighter, a better person, a better business owner, I get to share that with the kids. As I progress through life, I get to help them. I mean, it helps that I'm a little younger. Most of the kids I have right now, they're 12, 13, 6, 7, 8 years old. They resonate a little better with me because I'm more tapped in. I'm younger than the average coach, way younger. I feel like it's easier for them to trust me, and I'm able to help them out more in that aspect. There's a lot to work on when it comes to future projects and present projects together. I'm gonna tackle everything when it comes down to it.
You didn't tell me you opened the school because you wanted to produce elite fighters. You actually said you wanted to help kids who were lost. Why does that kid matter so much to you?
I've been around a wide variety of people, and I've seen many lost souls in my time. And the thing that always comes up is that they never had anyone to tell them they could be more than what they're surrounded by. Now that I'm teaching some kids, some of them are also kind of lost. And I always ask, are you coming because you want to be here, or are you coming because your parents want you to be active? And I tell them, hey, be honest with me. I don't mind if it's just to be active or you don't want to be here, but I want some honesty. Depending on what they answer, the answer that I give is always going to be the same. It's just, it all comes down to you. It all comes down to your progression and what you want to do. Because regardless if you're here just to get a workout or to stay active, you're still benefiting your body in some way. It's like I always go back to the law of equivalent exchange. You can't put so much effort into something and not get anything out of it. You'll always get something out of it. In this case, they don't know that. They have this impression that the world is so small and like Laredo is the only thing they know. And they don't realize they get so stuck up on like what people think of them. I used to be the same way. And that's why I can resonate with that and help with that. Because I used to also squeeze my perspective too small instead of seeing the wider picture. That's what I want to help them with. Like I want them to understand it. I want them to use me as a conduit of inspiration so they can enact their dreams, whatever it may be, a career path they want to choose, or help them find a career path through the teachings of martial arts. Help them find a calling. Because it's not only just about kicks and stuff, it's so much more. Then this is what I mainly want to help when I, open this academy. Because yes, if they want to be elite fighters, awesome. Let's do it. I'll support you 100%. If you're just coming to learn and to grow as a person, even better. I have a shared respect for everyone that's going to be attending. Whether it be to become elite, whether it be to be a hobbyist, whether it be to just pick up a new perspective. I want them to leave with the impression that anything's possible. A lot of parents are negative out there. A lot of parents like to compare their kids to people who are better. I don't like that because you're comparing someone who doesn't have an example of how to be better to someone who's probably put in years and years of effort to be where they are. You can't compare those two. It all starts at home. It all starts at home. For me, that Taekwondo was my home. I would go there if I was frustrated, my coach at the time, the person I was training with was HS Taekwondo, Hiromi Saito Taekwondo. I had keys to the place because I would open up sometimes. So sometimes when I was frustrated, I would go and kick the mat around, just get a punching dummy and train a bit, clear my mind. So it's also a way of decompression, a healthy way, get your body moving. That's what I want to put out there. A lot of kids turn to substances to relax themselves. But that shouldn't be the case.
When you think about the school, what matters more to you, producing champions or developing people?
Developing people, big time. Because champions, although the title is there, it's like you said, like it's my story all over again. It's like I can be a champion, but who am I without that? I believe a champion is someone who develops in the game of life. Everyone's their own champion. Everyone fights a battle every day. Every day you get out of bed, that's a battle you fought. You got out of bed and you're going throughout your day. So we're in life, we're forced to do things we don't like, but you got to do them anyways. If it was up to me, I'd be on vacation somewhere in Mazatlan every day, just relaxing every day, but that's not the case. A champion trains for the glory of the podium, but the podium favors nobody. The podium favors nobody. I'm proud of your champion. I'm proud of you. Proud of you. It's all about the development of the person. The true champion lies within who you are. That's the real champion.
When a parent hands you their son or their daughter, what are they really trusting you with? Have you thought about that?
I have actually. And most of the time I ask them, what's the reason for, are you trying this out to get them active? Are you taking interest in the practice or why, what is leaning you towards enrolling them? And the usual answer I'll get is that they want them to learn discipline. They want them to learn responsibility. The second most popular answer is they want their kid to be active. But those are the two main ones I always get. It's the responsibility, discipline, and then it's I want them to be active, right? And those are amazing reasons. I agree with them. At the end of the day, as a parent, you want your kid to grow up strong. You want them to be healthy. You want them to be responsible. You want them to be able to tackle anything in life throws at them. So I believe that's what they're entrusting me with. Develop their kid, whether it be in the mind, whether it be in the body, whether it be their decision making and all that. And that's what I think they're entrusting me with. What I believe.
Does carrying that responsibility scare you at all?
Not at all. I actually haven't really felt that worry. I'm so sure of the path that I've walked, and I'm so sure of what I'm preaching, and I'm so sure that, of all of this. I keep an open mind all the time. Sometimes what I say might not resonate. I want to hear their point of view. I always keep an open mind. And everyone's got their opinions. Everyone's got their ideas. So at the end of the day, it's just listening and understanding. I'm not scared of carrying that burden. I think it's a gift to be able to do that. I think it's amazing. It's a privilege to be able to shape the next generation. I think it's a privilege to be able to nurture them in aspects that they otherwise might not find ever.
There's something I say that says something to the effect, there comes a point where success stops asking what you've accomplished and starts asking you, who have you developed? Because the key to develop, when you talk to me about the different aspects about the training and everything you've gone through, you do realize you're the 1%er, right? And you're trying to produce 1%ers. And the statistics is something crazy, like, I think like from like 1 million people, only one gets a black belt, and then another 2 million, I think. The statistic is crazy. But all in all, it becomes the 1%ers. So that's really what you're trying to develop, what you're trying to duplicate. Do you feel like you're entering that season right now?
At the moment, it's nothing too big. And I believe that when I preach something, I tell them to take it with a grain of salt. Producing 1%ers is a challenge. Like you said, that the statistics are not in the favor. I would much rather prefer their development than medals and all that. The medals are the bonus. The medals are just another badge on you. It's the development that I really care about. And even if they don't become black belts necessarily, even if they reach orange belt or regardless of what belt they leave off on, the main goal is to, if you're going to retire what you're doing and move on to another chapter of your life, take the good from it. What did you learn? What are you going to apply in the next thing you do that you've learned here at what I'm teaching? Whoever stays around will let me know they want to stay around, just as I stuck around. At the end of the day, it comes down to, do you want it or do you not? Everyone has a choice. Do you want to stick it out and push through? Or do you want to retire what you're doing and move on to the next? Everyone's got their path, everyone's got their story, and I believe that regardless, martial arts, no martial arts, at the end of the day, it's their decision, it's their life, just as it is mine. It's not necessarily I'm attempting to duplicate who I am. It's more of I'm trying to put out more good, trying to put out more understanding. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't put out kindness. A lot of people are going to beat you down. And I just want to let them know, the people who are continuing to try, I want to let them know that at the end of the day, it's your life. Don't listen to the outside noise. It's your life. Whatever you do it with passion. That's what I want them to leave off with. Put passion and love into what you do. That's what separates you. That's what's going to separate you from the collective. That's what's going to make you an individual. If you do everything, if you do what you love with passion, if you pursue what you want to pursue with care and determination, anything's possible.
When those kids are 30 years old, what do you hope they're still carrying from the time they spend with you?
The one thing I want them to take with them for the rest of their life, that it's a must, is the lesson of one, continue showing up. And the lesson of two is that nothing lasts forever. Life is one big yin and yang. For everything good in your life, there must also be struggle. It's going back to what I said about the good times are only so good because we went through the hard times. And I want them to realize that just as good times might not last, bad times won't last either. I want them to, when they're older, realize, hey, I'm having a hard time. I'm older now. And I want them to realize, hey, this isn't going to last forever. This hard times I'm going through, just continue. Hope isn't something you find. You don't find hope. You choose it every single day when you get out of bed. You choose hope. And I want them to realize that. The rain stops. When the rain stops, when the rainbow shows, because there's even beauty with rain. It's the rainbow. It might be rainy and it might be stormy, but once the storm is gone, what's left? Beautiful blue sky, parted clouds, rainbow, showing you that even when the rain is crazy, when it's finished, it is something you can look at with beauty.
That is correct. I'm going to move over to this thing that I put together. It's called Rapid Fire. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one word or one sentence answer. No thinking. I'm going to throw you the idea and you just respond. Here we go. Best victory.
Being the youngest competitor on the national stage.
Worst loss.
Not performing to the best of my abilities when I first went international.
Favorite kick.
Cut kick.
Most difficult opponent.
It's hard. I'd have to say the people from Ecuador. Yeah.
Something you're still afraid of.
The future.
What's one habit everyone should build?
Consistency.
What's something social media gets completely wrong about success?
That it's easily attainable.
Who's harder on you, your coach or yourself?
I think myself.
If Xavier 10 years from now could speak to you today, what do you hope he'll thank you for?
He definitely thank me for passing my classes, college, pursuing the business I'm pursuing, and above all, sharing the knowledge and passion with the city and with the social media, the world.
Ozzy, I want to leave you with one final question. Somewhere in the 956, There's probably a 14-year-old kid listening to us right now. Maybe he feels lost. Maybe he doesn't think he's special. Maybe he hasn't found the thing that makes him believe there's more inside of him yet. You get 1 minute with that kid. What do you tell him?
I tell him that nobody starts off strong. Being weak, there's nothing wrong with being weak. It's in staying weak. How do you find the motivation to be stronger? You have to stop and take a look at what you're going through. Stop and take a look at your surroundings and just like take it all in and ask yourself, do you really want this? Do you really want to continue the way you're living? Or do you want to be the change that you desire? You have to be the change. I tell them that they need to be more than what people tell them they can be. I tell them that impossible is just a word until you accomplish it. Tell them that there is no such thing as limits. There's only the mind. And at the end of the day, it's you against you. Just keep moving on with your life. Don't let anyone tell you what you're doing is useless. Of course, there is exceptions where they constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, if you have something that you love and if you have something that you want to move on, you move on it. Tomorrow is not promised. Do something about it today and don't dwell on the negatives. When you're older, when you're on your deathbed, and the one thing that you're going to be thinking about is everything that you didn't do. Would you rather a museum of regret or a museum of trying? Years from then, you'll think more about the things you didn't do than the things you did do. Be yourself and continue pushing for what you believe is right.
Ozzy, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Not just for being here, but for allowing us to look beyond the medals and meet the man behind them. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. I know that you're busy, and I've been trying to get to you on this podcast for a minute now. And this is to the audience listening out there, legacy builders. If you listen closely today was never really about martial arts. It was about stewardship. What do you do with talent you've been given? What do you do with that discipline you have built? What do you do with the doors that open because somebody once believed in you? See, because eventually success asks a different question. It stops asking, what can you accomplish? And starts asking, who can you develop? The medals matter. The victories matter. The accomplishments matter. But eventually, the applause stops. And when it does, what's left is the person you became and the people who became better because you were here. That's a legacy. Until next time, keep building yours.